Oh, I have slipped the surly bonds of the earth and danced the skies on laughter-silvered wings. Hello everyone, my name is Joseph Shonkwiler, and what you have just heard are the opening lines of John McGee's famous poem, High Flight. And tonight, that is just what I'd like to talk to you about, flight, or rather the process of flight. Now, when considering the flight of aircraft, there are three main things to talk about. And that is, 1, overcoming gravity and taking off from the ground. 2, while in the air, overcoming the forces of thrust and drag. And 3, landing the plane safely. Now, number 1 is overcoming gravity or takeoff. The shape of the wings of a plane provide lift. What you see here is a cutout of an airplane's wing, and that shape is called an airfoil. Now, a plane's wing is shaped in such a way that the top is curved. And when the wing moves through the air and the air passes over the wing, the air moving over the curved top of the wing is moving faster than the air below the wing. And now in the book, The Way Things Work, by author and designer David McCulley, he states that fast-moving air has a lower pressure than slow-moving air. Therefore, the slower-moving air underneath the wing causes more pressure on the wing. And this causes what is called lift. Lifting, when it moves fast enough and causes enough pressure that it overcomes the weight of the aircraft and lifts it off the ground. Now, with a glider such as this, you would want to pull it across the ground until the pressure built up under the wings and lifted it off the ground. But in a plane, you have B, your engine and your propeller. And what they do is they provide thrust. Now, when you turn your engine on and it spins the propeller pushes air back, and that air pushes back on the propeller and propels the plane forward. And of course, the principle we just described would apply in that you'd move faster and faster until the pressure underneath the wings built up and overcame the weight of the plane, or the glider, and lifts it off the ground. And that is taking off. Now, number 2, in flight, overcoming the forces of thrust and drag. Now, A is the force of thrust. And what that is gravity pulling on, for instance, this glider. If the glider was gliding through the air, you would have thrust. Gravity pulling on the glider. At the same time, the wings provide lift. So that keeps the aircraft from plummeting to the ground like a rock. So thrust is when gravity pulls on the plane, but the wings keep it in the air, so it moves forward and at the same time descends. B is the force of drag, and that is simply friction caused by air moving over the aircraft. The friction slows the plane down and also causes it to descend, or the glider. C is your engine and your propeller. In an airplane, you have your engine and propeller, which provide enough speed to overcome the forces of thrust and drag. It keeps the plane moving through the air at a high enough speed that these forces have little effect on your aircraft. Now, D are the wing flaps and the elevators. The wing flaps are hinged panels on the back end of a wing, and the elevators are hinged panels on the back of the tail wing of a plane. And what they do is, if a pilot wanted to, for instance, ascend or descend, in the cockpit he would pull a lever, back for instance, and what that would do would be to lift the elevators up, and that changes the shape of the wing and deflects the airflow in such a way that the pressure is higher on the top of the wings. That would push the tail end of the plane down and the nose up, causing the plane to ascend. And of course the opposite would be true for descending. Now, number 3 is landing the plane. Now, A, you would want to slow your plane down. You would slow the engine down. This is referred to as slowing your airspeed. So slowing the engine down enables the forces of thrust and drag to take effect on your plane, slow it down, and cause it to descend. B, you want to adjust the wing flaps and elevators. As you come in for a landing, a pilot would want to adjust the elevators. He would want to push forward on the stick, which would cause the elevators to dip down and direct the airflow so that the pressure would be on the bottom of the tail wing, and that would push up and point the airplane down, causing it to descend and aid in your landing. Now, to review what we've learned, number one is overcoming the force of gravity for takeoff. A, the shape of the wings provide lift, and B, the engine and propeller provide the speed to gain lift and lift off the ground. Number two is, while in flight, you must overcome the forces of thrust and drag. And A is the force of thrust, which is gravity pulling on the aircraft. B is the force of drag, which is friction caused by air moving over the plane. C is your engine and your propeller, which gives you enough speed to overcome these forces. And D are your wing flaps and your elevators that aid you in directing your craft up, down, and from side to side. Now, number three is landing the plane. What you want to do is A, slow down your aircraft so the forces of thrust and drag can cause your plane to help to descend. And B, you want to adjust your wing flaps and elevators so that directs the plane downward even more, aiding in your landing. Now, I hope that you have a better understanding of basically how planes operate from takeoff to landing. Now, most of us know what airplanes are and do, but most don't know the process and physics involved in flight. That wonderful experience that inspired John McGee's, in my opinion, beautiful poem that, as he described, as I trod the untrespassed sanctity of space, put out my hand and touched the face of God. Thank you for listening to me this evening. You've been a wonderful audience. Have a nice evening.